I'd like to bring clarity to a word that has introduced great confusion into our values and morality, and that word is proportionality. What is proportion? What is a proportionate response? What is a disproportionate response? This word has created enormous confusion, and when it comes to morality, we must have clarity. The first time I heard this word introduced was by an Egyptian by the name of Bassem Yousef, who you may have heard of. He was being interviewed by Piers Morgan. Let's watch this interview together, just a clip of it, and then I'd like to share my thoughts on it. Here we go.
The thing is, the question is, what is a proportionate response? Because it has been different from one tier to another. So if you look to this graph, for example, this is the death of Israeli and Palestinians, and it's changing from one year to year. It's like fluctuating like crypto. So my question is today, what is the going rate today for human lives? I mean, 2014 was a great year for Ben Shapiro. 88 Israelis were died, and there was 2,329 Palestinians killed on the other side. That is one Israeli for 27 Palestinians. That is a very good exchange rate. What I'm saying is, what is the exchange rate for today? You guys will be happy. That's my question.
Well, it's not me. It's not me, guys. I'm not on either side.
No, not you. Like when I say you guys, I say like people on the other side of that. I know that you don't think like that, Pierre. You're one of the good guys. But let me tell you something. I mean, the reason that I'm using this is that, I mean, I can't remember what happened in 2014, and there was no music festival, but there must be something. I mean, they must do something. It is their fault. It has to be something. I mean, 2018, 300 Palestinians died. Who's counting, you know? So the thing is, what my question is, let's find what is the exchange rate for human life today so we expect the future death of Palestinians and we'll be happy to it.
My response to that would be this, Bassem. I thought carefully about this because I think it's very tricky for people like me to immerse ourselves into a conflict where we're not directly involved. And I thought carefully about what I feel about this. I feel that the scale of what Hamas did on October the 7th supersedes anything else I've seen in this conflict, really ever. The savagery, the butchery, the slaughter of 1,300 people, the shooting of babies, the 100%. Kidnapping of grandmothers and so on. So if we can agree on that, which I think is inarguable, then the question then becomes, again, about proportion. I don't disagree that there's been a lot of bad stuff on both sides going back historically for decades. But if we agree that this was on a different level altogether, quite deliberately by Hamas, designed to provoke. No, here's my question. Let me ask you a question. And the question, because you raised it earlier about proportion. I honestly don't know what the proportionate response is.
So there you go. You have this entire conversation about proportion. And the fundamental flaw with this, you know, like at the end of this interview, actually, they had on Jeremy Boring, who actually said, what, you want a proportionate response? A proportionate response would be Israel going into Gaza, raping their women, throwing their babies into ovens, decapitating people's heads. Is that what's supposed to happen in war? A proportionate response? Of course not. That is completely ridiculous. There is no proportion when it comes to war, and more importantly, there's no proportion when it comes to life. This is what we need to understand. A life truly, from a Jewish values perspective, has infinite value. So there is no proportion here. There is only who it is that is the perpetrator and who is the innocent person who is the victim of the perpetrator. That is the only question over here. So the whole conversation of numbers is wrong, and that's the reason why when people, when they always also will always say, well, you have to understand this in the greater context. When someone says that, what they're actually saying is that there are times when you can justify the murder of people because there's a context that justifies just murdering innocent civilians. That's exactly what that response is. There is no room for that in any divine morality or any divine ethics. There's no room for that in Torah at all. Context will never justify murdering innocent civilians because you feel oppressed or whatever the issue may be. In fact, I were to ask this question: if there is a man who's holding a gun to the head of an innocent person, do you have the right to kill the person who is holding a gun to the head of an innocent person? You may answer, the answer is yes, you have a right to. I will tell you that no, you don't have a right to. What? That's right, you don't have a right to. You have an obligation to. There is actually a moral obligation to kill the person who is threatening someone else's life. Let me ask you this question. If there were two people with guns standing by one innocent person's life, what is your obligation to kill both of them? Is that proportionate? They're only threatening one life. Maybe we should let them kill that one life and save two lives. No, this has nothing to do with numbers. It has to do with a presence that is a threat to innocence. And that presence, whatever that presence is, however large it may be, if it is in the way of saving an innocent life, we will eliminate it. What happens if there are 5 people? What happens if there are 10 people threatening one life? And we can take out all 10 to save that one life. What do? 20, 30, 40. The number does not matter. We have to be clear about this. The number does not matter, because God teaches us the highest value is human life. That is the highest value. And the irony is that when you have a group of people who are a part of, okay, by choice or not by choice, but they are a part of threatening innocent lives, that entire entity is a problem, and they are threatening innocent lives. And therefore, if it is necessary to eliminate them in order to save innocent lives, then we are not allowed to kill them. We are obligated to kill them. Again, if we don't have to kill them, we can just injure them, and that would stop the threat. That's all that we do. But if we have to kill them to stop them threatening an innocent life, that is divine morality. We must be very clear about this. And that's the reason why when people want to know what Israel must do, which tragically they have not done to date, they've played this game of volleyball back and forth, which has brought horrific loss of life on both sides, the Palestinian side and the Israeli side, and doesn't seem to stop, is because they never did what divine morality tells us we must do. And that is, when there is a threat to life and it's not stopped, you must continue until you have defeated the enemy and the enemy knows that they are defeated. It's not an ego thing. We're not trying to defeat them to show them that we're stronger. We are stopping a force that threatens innocent life. After one rocket is sent to Israel from Gaza, not after 300, but after one, Israel has a moral obligation to respond until there is no longer the possibility of that threat. And the irony is that this is the most compassionate approach for the Israelis and for the Palestinians. Had we done this 30 years ago, we wouldn't be having all of the losses that we've been having over the last 30 years on both sides. It's not pleasant. And tragically, we have world leaders calling for a ceasefire. You don't have the moral courage and clarity to know that a ceasefire is going to create so much, just a continued, prolonged battle between Hamas and Israel with a charter that says they want to annihilate Israel. We have to open up our eyes, and we have to have divine morality. When there is evil that threatens innocent lives, we have an obligation to eliminate it until they can no longer continue doing what they're doing. This has nothing to do with proportionality whatsoever. This is not a numbers game. Don't get confused when someone throws numbers. And you see what happens is the moment Bassem Yousef throws in proportionality, then the Piers Morgan got confused by that, and he starts buying into, I don't know what the right proportionality is. Proportionality is not the conversation. Don't fall into that trap. This has nothing to do with proportionality. This has to do with the saving the lives on both sides, and that is only done by finishing the job, which is eliminating the evil.